Hope you can see the screen. Today we are going to learn about Route 53. Okay, what is Route 53? What are the features in Route 53? Where we can use Route 53? All these things we are going to cover today. Okay. Now, before going to understand Route 53 in AWS, let me show you where we have to use Route 53 in general. Okay. Now we have talked about communication. We talk about communication between two lab computers, right? Two computers needs to communicate with each other. They require an IP address. If you are talking about one mobile to another mobile, one laptop to another laptop, it required an IP address. Without the IP address, the computers will not able to communicate with each other. What is the IP address? Internet protocol address. Okay, so now we talk about websites, right? Whenever you are accessing a website, so this is your local laptop, right? This is your local system. Now this is the server where the your website is hosted. Okay. Now when you want to access a website, let's say google.com, right? So you require the IP address of this website. Your computer require an IP address of that website. Without the IP address, your computer will not able to understand where to connect. You are entering google.com, but computer doesn't understand google.com. It understand IP address, right? If you are entering any URL, it doesn't understand that URL. It required an IP address to communicate to that server. What is the server you are talking about? Okay, so all the URLs which you are pasting or you are typing in your browser are converted into IP address of remote server. Now, how to get that IP address? It's we'll understand that. But always remember, when two computers communicate with each other, they work on IP. Got it? Now, let's understand DNS. What is DNS? DNS is just like a phone book. You might have heard DNS, domain name server. If you are using internet, you have used DNS to convert human-friendly domain name such as google.com into internet protocol address like as 192.62.70.1, something like that. Okay, for human it's easy to remember the name rather than number or a IP address. Okay, DNS you can just imagine like your mobile phone book where you have a mapping between the name and the number. In your phone book there are hundreds of contact information right now, right? There might be hundreds of contact information. You will not able to remember more than one or two mobile number, but you will able to remember the name. We will able to remember the name rather than number, and phone book help us to convert that name into the number, right? When you want to call someone, okay, when you want to call someone, can you call a person from name from your mobile? Let's say there is a person called Rahul. If you want to connect to Rahul, can you just say Rahul, connect to Rahul, and it will be connected? No, you require the Rahul's mobile number. In actual, if you want to call to Rahul, you require Rahul's mobile number. But you will not able to remember the Rahul's mobile number. That's why we create a phone book where name and the number are mapped together. When you want to call Rahul, you just search the Rahul contact information and dial that number, right? So two mobiles communicate with each other over the number, mobile number, but we store the numbers as a format of name plus mobile number. Similarly, DNS works, right? Every computer needs to communicate over the internet via IP address, okay? But we type the URL, we type some domain name that is converted into IP. That is converted into IP, and how it's converted, we are going to learn today. The IPs are used by computer to identify each other over a network. Over a network. IP comes in two flavors, IPv4 and IPv6. IP address comes in two flavor, IPv4, IPv6. IPv4 is 32-bit field which has over 4 billion different IP address. So IPv4 consists of 32 bits. IPv4 consists of 32 bits which converts into nearly 4 billion IP address, that is 400 crore. 400 crore IP addresses are available in IPv4. Now tell me, is this 400 IP addresses are good enough for today's technology? In today's era, is 400 crore IP address are good enough? Yes or no? So as your technology is increasing, or the number of devices which you have right now increasing, 400 crore IP address are not enough. Why? Each device you have right now, each smart device, your mobile, your smart TV, your smart fridge, anything, your laptop, all the devices require an IP address. Due to this, 400 crore IPv4 IP addresses are not good enough, or are not that much that suffice the it can suffice the requirement of giving all the devices a unique IP address. So for what can we do? So when internet came, they thought that IPv4 will be good enough with for nearly 4 billion IP addresses. But over the period of time, as the number of smart devices increases, okay, as the number of devices are increasing exponentially, they thought that IPv4 will not able to suffice the requirement of IP addresses available in the network. So what was the next step? Introduction of IPv6. IPv6 was created to solve this depletion issue and has a address space of 128 bits, four times more. Okay, 128 bits, which in theoretical has this many IP addresses. That is 340 undecillion addresses right now. With the current usage, we are sure that we will not able to reach this much, or we are not going to exhaust this many IP addresses in coming future, but there might be a possibility. But right now IPv6 has 340 decillion undesigned IP address is available. Any question on the IP address? Now, you might have seen in your local system, you both use your laptop support both IPv4 and IPv6. Your IP address support both. Your laptop support both IPv6 and IPv4. Why? Even if you purchase a new laptop, it's come with IPv4. Can you tell me why it is showing us or your laptops are coming with both the IP addresses? Why, when you purchase a new laptop or still in over the internet, IPv4 is being used? Why we are not completely migrating to IPv6? It's a protocol, IP protocol, which is used to communicate between two computers. Why we are completely not migrating to IPv6? Because there are some computers, there are some machines which are still working on IPv4. There are few there are many system which doesn't support IPv6. And if you are migrating completely to IPv4, if you are completing migrating to IPv6, you will not able to communicate to the system which are not supported to IPv6, which are supporting IPv4 only. So let's say there are computer which is older than 10 years, 15 years, and they are still working, they are still in the market, and they are working on IPv4. If you want to communicate to that systems, you need your computer to work on IPv6, IPv4. That's why. Okay. Now let's understand the domain. Let's understand DNS. Okay, the human friendly which URLs which we are pasting over the internet. Let's understand that. First of all, you have to understand what is top level domain name. What is top level domain name? So, if you look at common domain names such as irctc.com, .co.in, google.com, bbc.co.uk, you will notice a string of characters separated by dot or period. The last word in the domain name represent top level domain name. The last name in the domain name is represented as top level domain name. Here it is .in, .com, .uk. The second word in the domain name is known as second level domain name. That is this word. Okay, this this is second level domain name, and it's not always that the second level domain name is present. This is optional though, and depending on the domain name, second level domain name is optional. .com, .eud, .gov, .com, .co.in, .gov.in, okay, and so on. So this is one of the representation you can see. Uh, .com is a top level domain name, TLD. Then Amazon is second level domain name. If this is a URL. Now, this domain name are controlled and by a internet assigned authority, name number authority, and is in a root zone database which essentially a database of all available top level domain name. Okay. Now tell me one thing. Can I use my name as a domain name? Yes or no? Can I today go over the internet and use my name as a domain name? Top level domain name, not domain name. Can I use my name in top level domain name? Yes, no. Can you go tomorrow instead of .com? Let's say you start using uh, Rahul Rahul as a top level domain name. Can we do that? So answer is yes, we can do that. But before that, we have to register. We have to register that domain, top level domain name, and that registration is done or handled by authority, which is Internet Assigned Name Authority. Okay, it contains a database, INA. Okay, it contains a database where all the top level domain names are registered. Okay, it maintains a database where all top level domain name are registered. Okay, if you want, you can register your own domain name there. Okay, INA. Let me show you. So you can check it out this URL. Okay, ina.org slash domain slash root slash db. So these are the top level domain name available right now. You can see there are some words like .rg, .army, .baby, .azure. Okay, the famous one .com will be here. Co, .chrome, .com. Okay, if you search .in, you will search National Internet Exchange of India. .eud, educase. Okay, .education, .gov, cyber security and infrastructure security agents. So this is a top level domain name. If you scroll down, you will find so many top level domain available. You can utilize them. Okay, if you want your name to be available here, you have to register in this database, which is maintained by INA. Okay, if you want to create a top level domain name, you can go here. Next. Now let's understand about URL, the domain which you are talking about. Let's say google.com, amazon.com, right? facebook.com. Can you purchase this? Can you purchase this domain name? Now, what is domain name in general? I have told you that whenever you have a hosted a website over the internet, you require a URL. It is called domain name. Every company has its domain name available, right? Let's say I'm launching my website. So take example like Parag Learning, Parag Gen, or Parag Cloud Learning, something like that. Is the domain name available? Can I use that domain name? Right? paragcloudlearning.com. Is that domain name available? How do I know? Where to check? Right? There should be some authority, right? Who is going to maintain it? You can remember, you can take example again. When you purchase a property in real world, when you purchase a property, each property has uh, who is maintaining that record that this property belongs to whom. If today I want to purchase a property, I have to register that property on my name, right? Otherwise, anybody can sell the property. There should be some owner, right? The person who owns a property should register his name to government that this property belongs to me. I have purchased this property. Even it's a house or it's a car, right? Who is going to register that? Who is going to maintain that? If some second person comes and claim that this property belongs to him, how can I prove that this property is mine, not his? So whenever we purchase our house or a car, we have to go to the register, right? Property register for your house, and for vehicle it's a RTO. There we have to register that this property belongs to me or this vehicle belongs to me, and we have to do some paperwork and we get that property or the vehicle on our name. That and that registers are maintained by government of India right now. Agree? If your property is not on your name, then anybody other can claim it. But if you go to register and make the property on your name, nobody is going to has the power to claim. Okay, if somebody claims that this property belongs to him, you can challenge him using that paperwork you have done in the register office. Agree? Yes or no? Similarly happens in your internet for domain name. Can google.com belongs to multiple people, multiple companies, or facebook.com can belongs to multiple people? Does that happen? When you open Facebook or google.com, have you observed that uh, if you enter google.com, Gmail open? Did that happen? Or facebook.com URL is been purchased by Google? Did that happen? No. Why? Because they have registered their domain name, their URL, to a organization which is maintaining all these databases. Because all name, because the because all the name in a given domain must be unique, there needs to be a way of organizing this all so that all the domain name aren't duplicate. It's simple. Internet is a very vast right now, and each URL, each domain which is there has to be unique, and that uniqueness has to be maintained. It's not like that today if you are entering google.com it will open some different page. It should be redirect to a specific server only. This is where domain registrars come in pictures. A domain registrar is an authority that can assign domain name directly under one or more top level domain name. This domain are registered with internet inter NIC, which is a service of ICANN. So again, it's authority of internet which is handling the uniqueness or domain registration of your website or your URL. ICANN basically enforce the uniqueness of domain name across the internet. Each domain name must be registered in centralized database name as whois. Okay, whois is a database and its popular domain register includes Amazon, GoDaddy.com, Google.com. So if you want to purchase your own domain name, if you want to purchase your URL, you can go to Amazon, you can go to GoDaddy.com, if you can go to Google.com and purchase your URL. Okay, let's go to GoDaddy.com. Okay, so let's search google.com here. Can I purchase google.com? It is saying not available. Let's check google.co.in. Is taken. Edu. So Google has already purchased all the domain name which starts with Google. But if you want, so you can see paraglearning.com is available. Okay, and there are other suggestions. If you want, you can go with the top level domain as .in, which is quite cheaper. Okay, you can see it's cheaper. This domain name is available, so I can purchase this domain name. It will belong to me, and I have to register this domain name to the registrar, so that in the future this domain name will not be purchased by any other person. Just like google.com, you can't purchase google.com right now. It is already been purchased by Google. Okay, but this URL is available. You can go and use this URL. You can purchase the URL with some amount. You have to pay some amount to purchase this URL, and you can purchase. You can see there are time period. Okay, similarly, I have purchased one domain name for our practice. We'll come on to that. Okay, so there is ICANN is basically the main organization which maintain all this domain name, but we can purchase the domain name from different domain registrars. So Amazon.com, GoDaddy.com, Google.com has the ability to provide you the top level your URL, your domain name. Okay, so I have purchased one domain name from GoDaddy.com. Will you see that? Now, after you purchase the domain name, okay, just like your documentation, your paperwork in your when you purchase a property, have to do some paperwork, right? Similarly, when you purchase a domain name, there is called SOA, State of Authority record. So this record is basically store the information about your domain name over the internet. So this domain name belongs to whom, who is the administrator, what is the current version of the file, what is the TTL of this domain name. Now what is mean by TTL? Now each domain name, each domain name will be ending to some URL that we have discussed initially. Each domain name will end to some URL, sorry, IP address. Now over the internet, that conversion takes time, and because of that, the domain name versus IP address is stored in a cache over the internet. And if anything comes in cache, that's a TTL will come also in picture. So all this information, that how long a cache, the conversion of your IP domain name into IP address should be available in a cache, is maintained by SOA, State of Authority. It is just information about your website, that this website belong to whom, or URL belong to whom, what is the property, what is the current version of the file, and so on. This is called SOA, State of Record. You just have to remember the theory. Okay. Now name server. So whenever your website, whenever you are hitting a URL, that URL will be converted internally by over the internet, and there are multiple servers will come in picture. Okay, one of them is name server. Name server record are used by top level domain server to redirect traffic to the content DNS server that contain the authority DNS record. Okay. So whenever you purchase your domain, your URL, that information will be stored in that particular domain register. Let's say right now I have entered irctc.co.in or irctc.com. So to convert this URL, I will show you how it works in real world. How this irctc.com will be converted in to IP address in real world. So this is your server. Okay, this is your website server. Let's say 192.168.1.1 is this IP address of this URL, and this is your local laptop where you enter the domain name of this server. Let's say irctc.com or example.com. You enter this URL. Now, can your computer will able to identify where to redirect this request? No, it required an IP address. So from where it is going to find the IP address? First, it will check your local system cache. Okay, did you visited this website earlier? If yes, then IP address should be there. If no, let's go to your internet provider. Let's say you have an internet provider from Airtel. Okay, any internet provider. Airtel, Jio, Vodafone, anything, right? Your request will go to the internet provider. They also have some cache available. If the cache, this example.com IP address is available in that cache, it will be returned back to you. Otherwise, it will go to top level domain name. It will go to top level domain name server. Okay. Now it is .com. That means it will go to server which is maintaining .com. Now, in from top level domain name, it will pass to the registrar from where you have purchased the domain. So let's say you have purchased from godaddy.com. So domain registrar. Right? There are some cases, okay, if domain registrar will have the information about the IP address before the domain registrar, okay, inside the domain registrar there will be IP address, or sometime what happen, domain registrars are redirected to other domain registrars, there is, and how this is done we are going to understand in some time. Okay, and this information is passed here using NS server. That's why called NS server. This NS server is basically reroute the request from one domain registrar to another. Okay, and it helps your top level domain name directly to reroute it. Okay, so something like this, and from here it will give you the IP address. So this is a high level diagram. I'm not sure actually saying that this is the actual way or actual path how the IP address are resolved. Okay, and now the once the IP is got, it will return back to your system. it will return back to your system. Okay, you can check internet how the domain are resolved. Okay, there are so many, you can see DNS resolver, web server, root server, top level domain name, name authority. So there are so many servers will come in picture, which will give the actual IP address of your system. Okay, so once the IP is received, you can directly connect to that server. That's the logic, right? So all these things are high level theory. You don't have to remember. You just have to understand. Okay. So in your registrar, there is one more thing is called records. What is record? It's the information about your system, about your user or your website. So an A record is a more fundamental type of DNS record. A record is record stand for address. A record is used by computer to translate the name of a domain to an IP address. Just like abc.gov might be pointing to 121.1.10.92. So A record is the most fundamental record you have to understand. That's all in the record is just like a phone book. Now TTL. What is TTL? So I talk about cache. All the system, all the servers which are coming in the picture has some cache, and that cache will help you to translate your DNS into IP addresses, right? If that IP address is available to you, it will be returned back to you. If not, you have to get to the main server. But that IP address is cached in your system. That should be a TTL associated to it, because there are scenarios where the IP might change, right? Let's say you are connecting to a server today. Okay, this server has IP address this. Because of some issue, the IP has changed to 192.168.1.1.2. Okay, you have changed the IP, you have changed the server. This server previous this IP was not working properly, so you have switched all your system to new IP address or new system is there. Let's say this was a EC2 machine. Somehow this EC2 machine was facing some issue and you have created a new machine. So now all the people, who are accessing example.com needs to communicate to new IP address. But what if the cache is there and the cache is pointing to old one? What will happen? What will happen if the cache is pointing to the old one? You will set you will get an error that website does not exist, or it will time out. It will give you an error. That's why we ask sometime to clear the cache. When you are communicating to a server, it is recommended to clear the cache. Why? Sometimes the cache hold the old information which is no longer valid. Okay. Similarly, your DNS has a TTL, that over the internet that IP address will be connected to a particular that URL or domain will be linked to a IP address. So TTL you have to be very sure. So TTL is the length that the DNS record is cached on either the resolving server or the user local laptop or PC, and is equal to the time to live in seconds. We will learn about cache for multiple ways. But here the information is the domain name versus the IP address. The lower the time to live, the faster change to DNS record uh, changes to DNS record takes to propagate throughout the internet. So if you're doing any changes in your IP address, okay, if your IP address is changing frequently, you should enable the TTL should be low. If you know that the IP address is not going to change, it is going to be constant, then you should You can have long TTL. In practical scenario, it is been told that if you are changing your configuration about your DNS, your domain name, it can take up to 48 hours to propagate all the changes in the over the internet. अगर आपने कोई भी चेंजेस किया, लेट्स से आईपी चेंज किया या उसका डिटेल चेंज किया, it will take up to 48 hours to over the internet to sync all the devices. Okay, now there are few things related to DNS. One is chronicle name or CNAME. So you might have seen uh, there are two IP addresses which are pointing to the same server. Sometime did you observe that? Let's say take example.com and mobile.example.com. You might have observed this thing. Okay, that's because we have configured CNAME, chronicle name. Chronicle record is a type of resource record in the DNS that define a alias for the CNAME for your server domain name in a record or triple for a record. It is used to resolve one domain name to another. For example, you might have a mobile website with the domain name am.irctc.com.in that is used for your when user is browsing your domain from your mobile. You also want the same domain. You also want the name mobile.irctc.co.in to resolve to the same IP address. Instead of having two separate IP address, you just need to map one to another. मतलब क्या, दो एड्रेस है, दो URL है, बट लोकेशन सेम ही है, दैट इज अ डेस्टिनेशन सेम ही है, राइट? इन अ वेरी सिंपल वे, एक बंदे को दो नाम से आप बुला सकते हो, दैट इज क्रॉनिकल नेम. लाइक Narendra Modi and PM of India, both are same, but the calling is different, right? That's why the chronicle name is. वेबसाइट एक ही है, मतलब आईपी एड्रेस एक ही है, बट उसकी यूआरएल्स डिफरेंट डिफरेंट है. So instead of creating different domain name, you can just integrate this both domain name to a same IP address using chronicle name. Then Allias. Allias is just like a nickname. Okay, एक वेबसाइट है जो ऑलरेडी वर्क कर रही है, उसका खुद का डोमेन है ऑलरेडी, but you don't want to use that domain name. You want to use another domain name and you want to hide that the previous one. So you will call a master domain name which will hit internally a separate domain name and it will hit the IP address. Okay, I will take an example of this. Right now we have hosted a website in S3, remember? And you got an S3 URL, S3 website URL. It is maintained by Amazon. I don't want to use that URL. I don't want to give this URL to my customer. I want to use my own URL, my custom URL. So I can integrate directly. I can change the URL directly. That S3 URL, I can't directly integrate that URL. Instead of that, I can map that URL using Allias. So let's say I have a domain name example.com. I will map the example.com to S3 website URL and that website will be open. So I am linking two URLs together. That's called Allias. So if anybody hits example.com, it will hit S3 URL and it will hit the actual web server. So Allias record are used to map resources record set in your hosting zone to Elastic Load Balancer, CloudFront, S3 bucket. Allias work like CNAME record in that you can map one domain name example example.com to another DNS similar to elb1234.elb.amazon.aws.com. So एक वेबसाइट को दूसरी वेबसाइट से लिंक करना हो या एक डोमेन नेम को दूसरे डोमेन नेम से लिंक करना हो तो अलायस यूज कर सकते हो. A CNAME cannot be used for a naked domain name. You cannot have CNAME for irctc.com. It must be a record or alias. Okay. So I'm stopping here about your domain name. Now I will just give you. We have talked about domain name. Now why we have learned about domain name and what is the difference and why what is your Route 53. So now you are working in cloud. In cloud, there are chances that many companies are going to host their website, right? And it will be there. So Amazon needs to provide a service which will help them to solve this problem, to host the website, to have the domain registration easy, all these things. That's why Route 53 come in picture. That's where Route 53 come in the picture. Okay. Now, why Route 53? The name is there. The 53 is a port of DNS to resolve. Your DNS works on port 53. That's why the name is called Route 53. In Route 53, you can purchase the domain name. You can bring existing domain name. You can integrate different registered domain name with Amazon. Okay. You can manage that this domain name will route to which IP address, which server, and further on. Everything is managed by Amazon in Route 53. Okay. So in for exam purpose for your interviews, you just have to remember that your domain name should land to Amazon Route 53. From there we will pass the information to EC2 machine, S3 and so on. But you have to first bring the request to Route 53. Okay, and we are going to learn about that, how we can do that, how we can transfer the data or request from Route 53 to different endpoints. But we have to bring the data to Route 53 that you have to configure. If you purchase the domain from Amazon, then anybody hitting that particular domain name, let's say example.com, will directly land on Amazon Route 53. But if you have purchased your domain name from godaddy.com or google.com, then you have to integrate that domain registrar with Amazon Route 53. Okay, if you are have integrated that, that means your request will land to Route 53. सो बेसिकली आपको इंटीग्रेशन करना पड़ सकता है अगर आपने दूसरी जगह से परचेस किया. सो आई हैव डन दैट इन माय domain name. I have purchased a domain name from godaddy.com and I have integrated my Route 53 with godaddy.com. Okay. Now, if you hit the domain name which I have purchased, it will directly land to Route 53. Clear? Now, what are the different type of routing where you can integrate this thing? We are going to cover tomorrow. Okay. Any question?